Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonna Emke, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Future-Proofing Your Organization, the Value of Learning in the New Skills Economy. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are multiple application widgets that you can use during today's webinar. All the widgets are resizable and customizable, so please feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop experience. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to the full screen just by clicking on the arrows in the top right corners. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A widget. Depending on the questions, we may answer them during the presentation, or we'll save them until the end for our Q&A session. For the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection and closing any other programs or browser sessions that you have running in the background that could potentially cause issues. Today's webcast is being streamed to your computer, so there's no dial-in number. For the best audio quality, please make sure your computer speakers or headsets are turned on and the volume is up so you can hear our presenter. Now, on with the show. I'd like to introduce today's thought leader, Olivier Pestel, Associate Vice President, Solutions Consulting and Business Development for Cornerstone On Demand. Olivier, a French native, now calls Sydney home. For the past 20 years, Olivier has worked with a long list of global enterprise organizations throughout Asia Pacific and Europe, helping them on their journey of building their talent and HR strategies. In 2014, Olivier joined Cornerstone Asia Pacific Japan and has been successful in building and expanding our business development and solutions consulting practices for the organization. Welcome, Olivier.
Thanks for the introduction, Jonna, and thanks everyone for joining our webinar today. So the topic of our webinar today is about the adequacy and the value of learning in our corporate world. But first of all, in its most simple definition, learning is the acquisition of knowledge and skills, either through study, experience, or education. I went through a number of definitions and quotes, and the common denominator is the fact that learning is a process with no end point. To make it simple, learning has no end. Learning never stops. It actually reminds me of my own effort to learn new languages. I'm actually bilingual. I speak French and English, but I would love to be able to communicate in many more languages. A few years back, I tried to learn Spanish, but I gave up quite quickly, mainly due to a lack of time and a lot of procrastination on my side. And at the moment, I'm trying to learn Mandarin, but I'm afraid I won't be much more successful than with Spanish. Learning is not easy. Some of you might have seen the movie The Matrix, and it would be amazing to learn as fast as they did in that movie. If only learning could be as fast and easy. There are plenty of reasons to be learning these days. Some of you might have already learned that the next industrial revolution has arrived. According to the World Economic Forum, we have entered the fourth industrial revolution, in which technology gets embedded into society in ways that involve and require new capabilities for people and machines. The first industrial revolution was steam-powered. The second one was electrical. The third was the birth of the computer age. And now, in the fourth area, we see the rise of chatbots, 3D printing, gene engineering, artificial intelligence, and networking devices, such as smart fridges that will order your favorite food when you've run out. Industrial Revolution 4.0 is already here, and we will discuss today on how human capital gets ready for it. One of the major impacts of the fourth industrial revolution is on the average lifespan of companies. According to Credit Suisse, the average age of an S&P 500 company is under 20 years, down from 60 years in the 50s, and it's forecast to shrink to 14 years by 2026. Another prediction is that about 50% of the S&P 500 will be replaced over the next 10 years. While there isn't only one reason for this evolution, the disruption caused by the fourth industrial revolution is forcing organizations to rethink how work is organized within their firms as we face a massive shift in the skills that we will need in the workplace for the future. HR departments are under pressure to cope with the impact of the fourth industrial revolution, and they have a key role to play in the new digital age. There are an increasing number of new factors that shape the working environment of our organizations today. First of all, we've moved beyond work-life balance to what we call now work-life integration, because the convergence of technology and communication has blurred the lines for many between work and home. The progression from one position to the next up has given way to new career patterns. We used to call it the career ladder. It's now more called career walls. How people move laterally and not just up and down. These career walls are more fluid, flexible, and responsive to the needs of the business and the individual. The stakes are high in organizations today, but it's anticipated that the upside will be considerable in terms of higher productivity, rising innovation, and increased prosperity if companies are able to equip their workforce with the new skills and the developments that are needed. Nearly every industry is being disrupted by the fourth industrial revolution. Disruption is not new, for sure, but the speed, the complexity, the interconnection, and the global nature of this one is new. We've already seen disruption in the way we use and consume media, going from the old video recorder to the online streaming services that we use every day. In the way we commute with Uber or Ola cabs in India, and the disruption is coming in manufacturing in the form of 3D printing, for example. In fact, 90% of CEOs expect this transformation to disrupt their company, and few feel they are prepared. Just 30% of them think that the workforce is ready with the right skills, according to a survey from the Wall Street Journal. Jobs are changing too as a consequence. You can see here some new job titles that appear on job board recently. Most of these job titles and their description did not exist 1 year ago. Amazon, for example, is looking for culinary product developers. You might have read that Amazon bought a grocery retailer named Whole Foods Market last year. So will Amazon change the food business the way it changed the online sale of books, music, and more? It will require some new skills in Amazon to do that. Tesla and Uber are looking for automotive occupant packaging engineer, as we see more development in driverless vehicles, and we need to rethink our interface in these driverless cars. So we are witnessing a global skills crisis. Skills are at the top of CEOs' top talent agenda. 80% of them say that the organizations are looking for a more broader range of skills than in the past. And this is not surprising at a time when CEOs want to increase headcount, but they are concerned about the availability of the key skills. To be more specific, Asia-Pacific faces an imminent labor shortage of 12 million workers by 2020. And if it's not addressed, it could have a more significant impact on major APAC economies by 2030, says a report from Korn Ferry. According to that research from Korn Ferry, talent shortage is already a major issue. And its impact is so significant that companies are increasingly adopting automation. What is interesting is that in this survey, India is the only economy among the 20 countries that were studied with a potential talent surplus. The two major companies that are China and Japan are likely to witness significant talent deficits with a combined deficit of more than 3 million workers by 2030. But while India has a surplus of talent, India must deal with the challenges of employability and job creation. And it's fascinating for me to see initiatives like NASSCOM in India or SkillSet globally, where political leaders and business leaders join forces to tackle the issue of reskilling and retraining. Now we'd like to take a pause, and we would like you to respond to our first question of the webinar. We appreciate if you can take a few seconds to answer the question which is currently showing on the screen. So the question is about your skills inventory, and we wanted to know how often do you look at your skills library and you update your skills library to make sure that you have a description for the skills that your business needs. Whether you have a continuous ongoing review, multiple times per year, yearly, every 2 years, or if you never review your skills library. So we'll give you a few seconds to answer that poll question. All right, thanks for those that have responded, and let me just quickly show the results of that poll. All right, there seems to be a trend that for those that have responded, most of you have a yearly review, and it's interesting to see 20% that have a continuous ongoing review. That's showing, I guess, the importance being given today in making sure that the right skills are being identified by your organizations. All right, let's move on. So even though many job titles will remain intact in the future, at least 60% of all jobs will be significantly automated, according to a survey from the McKinsey Global Institute. The more likely scenario is that most of our jobs will be reinvented rather than replaced. This reinvention creates an opportunity to adopt new skills. To do this, both employees and organizations should embrace a culture of learning and accept the reality that we must work with emerging technology and not against it. Actually, the best companies continue to reinvent themselves. Think about Amazon and look closely at this picture. What do you see? Or to be more precise, what do you not see? Amazon embraced automation and a data-driven approach that gives Amazon a competitive advantage. And as some jobs were eliminated, other new jobs were created. Actually, Amazon is in the middle of a massive hiring plan of 100,000 employees in the US right now. By the time this hiring plan is over, Amazon will employ more than 280,000 people in the US alone. These new job opportunities are for people with all types of experience, education, and skills levels. They're looking for engineers, they're looking for software developers, they're looking for people that are seeking entry-level positions and on-the-job training. The other company I wanted to talk to you about, which is also a customer client, is Nestlé. Nestlé is one of the top leading food and beverage companies, as you probably know. They have leading market position in coffee business, in food and nutrition. But like many food companies, Nestlé has been undergoing a significant transformation in line with a more health-conscious consumers. And they are increasing their focus into healthcare segment. Nestlé acquired Novartis Medical Nutrition in 2017. And they had to rethink the talent needed as they transform the business, and in some of the business units to reskill the workforce to focus on nutrition, health, and wellness. Last week in Paris, many Silicon Valley CEOs attended a conference called VivaTech. And a major topic of that conference was how retraining, or reskilling, as some like to call it, is a crucial initiative of the coming decade. It is a challenge, not just for companies, which are obviously on the front lines, but also for schools, universities, industry, labor group, and policymakers. The need for social and emotional skills, think about leadership or problem solving, initiative taking, will rise sharply. The need for higher cognitive skills like managing complex information coming from machine learning and predictive analytics systems will also rise. These type of skills are often seen as soft skills, but schools and education system in general are not set up to impart. So with all these excellent factors, what does the future hold for you in the age of uncertainty? How will you future-proof your business, your people, and your success? Shifts in skills are not new, but the coming shift to digital skills could be massive in scale. According to the Harvard Business Review, with the development of artificial intelligence, basic connectivity skills like reading and numeracy will not suffice for many jobs, while the demand for advanced technology skills like coding or programming will rise by 55% in 2030, according to the same article from the Harvard Business Review. At Cornerstone, we believe that the starting point is a mindset change, with companies seeking to adopt and encourage continuous learning options to employees and to build a learning mindset in their companies. Now I would like you to answer our second poll question, which is to get your view of which one of the below obstacles affect your workforce the most to be ready for the future. Lack of adequate leadership, a lack of adequate technology, a lack of skilled talent, a lack of engaged employees, or none of the above. We'll give you a few seconds for you to be able to enter your answer. Thank you. Okay, let me bring the results. All right. I guess it's not surprise the need for leadership is definitely a skill that we see often in articles about what the CEOs and the C-level are more concerned about. All right, thanks for your answers. So, historically, organizations have been built on the top-down hierarchical-based model, sometimes called a command and control structure. And this was really to ensure alignment, reporting, and being able that control and command works in organizations. But today we have more and more remote employees, contingent workforce, project teams, virtual teams, subject matter experts, and they typically don't fit with the classic reporting lines. And there's a growing push to break the silos. And this in order to allow better collaboration and to generate better outcomes together than one could do individually or with a closer team. It's really about putting the expert at the center of this new model. Beyond that point on the organizational structure, there's also a push for a culture of continuous improvement in order to encourage people to take action and to support them if they make mistakes. We want people to be able to keep learning on the job by actively learning from the mistakes, trying and trying again if needed. They are therefore all the time looking for ways to improve their processes and themselves. If we have a look at a more detailed look at how training and learning delivery models have evolved over time, we typically observe 5 stages. And when we look at our customers, we typically find most organizations will be around stage 3, which is blended learning. 20 years back or 15 years back, most organizations were having in place classroom learning and then evolve into e-learning to come to a point where pretty much everyone now will sit around stage number 3, which is the blended learning of classroom training and e-learning. But we see more and more organizations putting in place programs that will incorporate some elements of social learning and modern workforce learning. It's about promoting collaboration and providing tools to break the silos I mentioned before and being able to put the expert at the center. For years, the focus has been on the transactions. And these transactions were built to help organizations to be compliant, to be process efficient, to be cost optimized. In the new connected skills economy, the personalized expectation is changing our approach. The people-focused approach goes hand in hand with the concept of lifelong learning. For example, training that used to be a session in the classroom at a certain time has transformed into learning practice that is available and continues at your fingertips. It is personalized and has shifted from classroom training to micro-learning as an example. The focus on developing new skills is a top-of-mind priority for business and political leaders. By the way, reskilling is more effective than you may think. For many sectors, the job market is too tight, and the competition makes it very expensive for you to find the right skills externally. For many organizations, the only viable option is to empower more people with new learning strategies. And it's actually making the case that internal career development will now be part of your competitive advantage. In summary, the fourth industrial revolution is making lifelong learning a necessary part of your business strategy. I came across a very interesting concept by preparing this webinar. It's the concept of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. This concept is from a Stanford psychologist. Her name is Carol Dweck. In her book named Mindset, that she published in 2007, said that it's not intelligence, talent, or education that sets successful people apart. It's a mindset, or the way that we approach life challenges. And according to Carol Dweck, you either have a fixed or growth mindset. And the one that you have can affect every aspect of your life. If you're interested, she developed an online test to help you figure out which side you're on. So if you just Google Carol Dweck online mindset, you will be able to take that test for yourself. Basically, a fixed mindset is the belief that your intelligence, your talent, and other abilities are set in stone. You believe that you're born with a particular set of skills and that you cannot change them. Basically, it's the idea that you can only learn so much. If you have a fixed mindset, you will typically fear that you may not be talented enough to achieve certain goals, and you may hold yourself back by engaging only in activities that you know you can do well. On the other side, if you have a growth mindset, you believe that with time, effort, and drive, you can develop new skills and new capabilities. You typically, if you have a growth mindset, use feedback and mistakes as opportunities to improve, and you enjoy the process of learning and becoming more productive. This is what she calls purposeful engagement. If you have a growth mindset, you also believe that you can overcome obstacles, and you choose to learn from all the experiences around you and try again until you reach your goal. At Cornerstone, we have the belief that every person is curious with limitless potential. So that's a follow-up to the concept of fixed versus growth mindset. And this is the theory of neuroplasticity, which is the ability for the brain to continue to form new connections during your entire life, and not just when you're learning as a kid or when you're young. So your brain will continue to create connection after they've been damaged or when it's stimulated by new experiences. This supports the idea that you can adopt a growth mindset at any time of life. You may not become another Leonardo da Vinci, I would love to, but a growth mindset can help you to realize your own potential through learning and practice. It actually opens up a limitless potential and a vast field of opportunities when it comes to talent development. At Cornerstone, we recently partnered with a think tank in the US called the Institute for the Future of Work. And we wanted to work with them to research what types of skills are anticipated to be more important in the future. There were plenty of them, but among many, there are three particular interesting categories: digital fluency, multicultural dexterity, and empathy. There's a lot of fear going on, and a lot of fear talking about automation, AI and robots, and how this is impacting jobs. Actually, a recent report from Gartner says that artificial intelligence will help create 2.3 million jobs by 2020, while it will eliminate 1.8 million. People and machines are now already working together. For example, when you use predictive analytics, which is used to make decisions, or when you think about assistants like Amazon Alexa or chatbots that support customer-facing automation. There's a whole new way of working with these systems that workers will need to learn and understand. It's all about to befriend the machine rather than to avoid them. When it comes to multicultural dexterity, with the globalization, more and more companies spread across the globe, right? And building multicultural dexterity enables you to quickly shift your mindset and understand and use the local practice, the rules of engagement of your peers that might come from a different culture or live in a completely different country. It is becoming critical for companies to determine when to force a global change or when to let existing protocols to stay the same. One of our customers, Suez, with a waste management company with more than 80,000 employees across 5 continents, decided to institute Cornerstone HR platform. And they find a way to consolidate information while keeping existing workplace culture and processes the same. So it allowed them to integrate employee data across countries without disrupting each country infrastructure. Finally, empathy. Change is becoming a constant part of our business lives. And empathy becomes key to daily relationship. It's about seeking to understand someone else's perspective and how their experience have shaped that perspective. If you are interested in having more details on this research on the skills of the future that we did with the Institute for the Future of Work, the report is available on our website. So what are the steps needed to develop new skills? For our perspective, it's really to shape a new learner experience. We truly believe that we must deliver a tailored, personal, and relevant experience in an age where content overload is the new norm. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be simple to find learning content. It needs to be personalized to me and will be relevant to me, and that's where we leverage machine learning. And it needs to be collaborative, and allowing creation of content not just from the HR organization, but also the experts on the field, and be able to share and through communities of practice. And this is our vision when it comes to deliver a learning platform where we see content being created by the expert, but also by the machine. The content has to be engaging, from the look and feel to the level of interactivity. Think about gamification or micro-learning. And finally, the content you are consuming needs to be relevant to your career aspirations, to your career path, to your development. It needs to be aligned with your talent strategy. It goes without saying that your learning content is king in your learning strategy. And unfortunately, too often companies are playing a game of catch-up. To get the most of your investment in the learning technology, content governance has to be part of your strategy. Given the fast pace at which skills are changing, the content does become obsolete quickly. You need to refresh your content constantly so that it matches your needs in terms of skills, but also that it matches the technology. Think about mobile, think about micro-size. Over time, most companies will have contracted with many different vendors, and the management of these vendors and contracts can become an administrative burden. Think again that also the content needs to be top-down versus bottom-up. We need to find a balance between these two ways of creating content and making it manual by the expert, but also leverage what machine learning can allow you to recommend personalized training. All right, time for our third and final question of that webinar. And it would be interesting to know if you're embracing any of these following activities or approach in your learning strategy: collaborative learning, micro-learning, playlist creation by experts, machine learning recommendations, mobile learning. So if you can take a few seconds to answer these questions. Thank you. Okay, let me bring on the results. All right. It's interesting to see that collaboration is ranking first, but there's a good balance between collaborative and micro-learning. All right, thanks for your answers. So in this last part of the webinar, let's go back to my initial questions. How can we future-proof our organizations? At Cornerstone, we believe in the value of an end-to-end employee experience. It starts from the moment a candidate will land on the page of your career site, all the way to the career development opportunities. And I would like to use a quote from our partner, Aon Hewitt, which is that employee engagement drives business performance. Sounds obvious, but it's too often forgotten. Aon Hewitt does have a lot of expertise on employee engagement for those of you that know Aon Hewitt. And they would say that employees with higher than average engagement are more likely to achieve the highest performance rating. So we do believe that along that employee life cycle, there's a lot of opportunities to enhance and improve the employee experience, and that will be a win-win situation for both the employee and the organization. There's an interesting white paper from McKinsey about how technology provides a new opportunity for the HR function to drive value. In summary, there are three key operational priorities: continuous process improvement, leverage more self-service capabilities, always looking for simpler processes, and make decision-making easier and supported by data. It's about next-generation automation technology, and keep providing smart functionalities that will save time and remove the low value add activities. And finally, user experience. So as part of this continuing transformation, the HR function must raise service levels and improve the employee experience by using this next-generation automation tool and standardized process, and this for the sake of driving higher productivity. Here are some questions that, in line with my previous slides, can fuel some conversation in your organization. For example, and that's at the core of our webinar today, are you embracing continuous learning in your learning strategy? Do you have systems in place to hire diverse talent, build their skills, and leverage diverse perspectives? Is your career framework dynamic enough to provide guidance on the skills and experiences the business needs? And it was interesting to see your answers about how often do you review, how often do you update your skills framework. In conclusion, at Cornerstone, since our founding 19 years ago, we have had one vision. And that vision is to provide the best technology for developing people and realize their potential. We have brought solutions designed to enable lifelong learning and development, and that's fundamental to the growth of employees. And we brought these solutions to your organization to more than 3,200 clients worldwide, and it's keep growing. I would like to leave you with this visual that illustrates our holistic approach to learning. And that means that we combine the learning management system, our all good LMS, with a learning experience platform, which we call LAP, with pre-curated content on demand. The Cornerstone Learning Experience Platform is designed to engage a learner with a modern and personalized experience. It's combined with a next-generation platform which delivers continuous learning, while our learning management system, our LMS, make it easy for organizations to manage, track, and deliver the learning that you need for your compliance and regulatory needs. And remember, it doesn't matter how simple or sophisticated your LMS or your learning experience platform is if you haven't got the right content. With that, I would like to hand it over to Jonah to see if there are any questions from the audience. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Olivier. We do have several questions for you, and I'd like to encourage our guests on today's webinar to continue to send us questions. You can submit them through the Q&A widget on your desktop. The first question, Olivier, for you is, do you have any suggestions for learning options for older workers, those who may not be as technologically adept as others or possibly not even work full-time? How can we make sure their learning is inclusive?
Yeah, that's an important question, because we need to make sure we not just focus to the more tech-savvy or technology-savvy part of an organization. Everyone is bringing skills to an organization. It will be a shame to only focus on certain aspect or certain population. So it's really important that you don't leave anyone behind, and that you adapt the delivery to the different populations, the different age groups, whether it's white collars or blue collars. So I believe the best approach or the best answer is to provide a blended learning approach. And that's the way our technology can create and can help to create an inclusive learning environment. And so that people will feel comfortable with their own way of learning, whether it's classroom training, whether it's consuming micro-learning at their own time with their own device. So I think the blended learning approach does make a lot of sense and needs to be still a preferred way of making sure that you include any type of populations and learners.
Fantastic. Our second question. We've been hearing a lot about jobs being lost to automation, but is this really true? When we say jobs are being redefined by technology, what does that mean? Is it just certain aspects of the jobs or transactional low-end tasks?
Yeah, I have to say that you can read different articles with different perspective on that. I mentioned in the webinar that Gartner report that says, well, there will be a lot of people that are definitely impacted and on the verge of disappearing. There's a whole range of new jobs that are being created or jobs that are being reinvented. So there's no question that certain jobs are impacted and lost to automation, but new jobs appear. If you think about the skills, and let's try to, if you categorize the skills in 5 families, let's go. First one will be the physical manual skills. The second family will be the simple basic cognitive skills like reading and numeracy. The third one being the higher cognitive skills like creativity and problem solving. The fourth family being social and emotional skills like leadership, initiative taking. And the fifth being the more advanced technology skills like coding and programming. So definitely the first and the second family, the physical and manual skills and the basic cognitive skills are the most impacted. And that's where there's a responsibility for our business leaders and political leaders to provide programs for people to be able to develop skills in the other family so they can adapt and adjust to the new needs on the market.
Great. Several questions in, continuing to encourage the audience to send them over to the Q&A widget. The next question, everything today seems to be about digital learning. Does this mean that face-to-face classroom learning is over? Do we need to be careful about the types of learning we offer by digital means?
But the simple answer is that for me, classroom training is not dead. It depends on the type of skills. Like, back to my previous question, digital learning in the form of collaboration, virtual lab, micro-learning can fit perfectly technology skills, like the coding or programming, and you can have people on their own time being in virtual labs and learning through digital learning. But face-to-face classroom learning will be the better way of delivery for higher cognitive skills. I mentioned problem solving or creativity. A lot of these learning interactions will be based on role plays, experience sharing, and this will be required to be delivered more likely via face-to-face classroom learning. So long answer for that, but classroom training is not dead. It's really to make sure you have a balance depending on the type of skills you want to improve.
Great. So being sensitive to time, we're going to have one more question, and I think this applies to all of Asia Pacific. What happens if you have workers who show no interest in upskilling? How do you build a what's in it for me element into your L&D options?
Yeah, so I think employers are responsible for creating a platform for employees. So I think it's down to employers also to show what's the path from where they are today into where they can grow. So while it still falls on the employee to be a self-starter and learner, you cannot learn at their place, but the employers need to make it as simple as possible for them, but also show what is it in it for them. And I think the best way for that is to show them the path and the growth to match their career aspirations and preference, and what's the next step. And now if they get there, will be I think the responsibility of the management and the company to do that.
Fantastic. Well, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to having you join us on a future webinar. A copy of today's slide deck and additional help materials are available in the resource list on your desktop. We encourage you to download any resources or links that you might find useful. Also, an on-demand version of the webcast will be available about 30 minutes after our webcast ends today and can be accessed using the same link that was sent to you to log in for today's webinar. One last thing, we provided an online survey at the end of today's session. We really encourage you to provide feedback on today's webinar so we can continue to improve the experience for you on future webinars. We thank you again for joining us for Futureproof Your Organization, the Value of Learning in the New Skills Economy. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jonah.